Thank you, Smilin. Good evening, everybody. It's still a pleasure to note that majority are still around. This is called the graveyard shift. When you are the last speaker in a conference, you are a graveyard shift. So normally in our conferences, more than half would have disappeared by now. So I'm here now basically to sort of to look at the supply side. Okay, we have been hearing very interesting presentations on the demand side, how the industry is growing and the prospects for careers and those sort of issues. So now it's basically to put all these ingredients and see what sort of impact it will have on the supply side. The supply side, of course, will be the curricula and how this will be challenging both for the colleges as well as for the students. I have a presentation and I will just go through that quickly. And if there's any questions, I can answer that. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. The subject which I've been given is curricular enhancement and career pathways in logistics. And the theme of this conference is career advancement and pathways in logistics and supply chain industry under new normal prospects and challenges. So these are issues I think very important for the colleges and the curricular developers to consider, because we are talking about new normal and how does it affect not just education, but in all sectors. And as far as we are concerned here, we are trying to look at how does it affect the courses, the programs in the logistics sector, so that when these students, they graduate, they find that their skills are still relevant. And this is going to be very, very challenging, really. Let me just quickly go through. I'm not sure what is the understanding of new normal, but for the benefit of particularly the students, let us look at some of these issues quickly before I go into the details of this career pathway progress in logistics. So I will look at it from two points of view. One is the state of time and space, the normal, the new normal, the new realities, career pathways, the requirement for new skills, new knowledge, enhanced curricula, and lifelong learning. So basically, I have two aspects in my presentation, and I will quickly cover this in the interest of the time. What is new normal? I am not sure whether we all are familiar with these things, but I think for the benefit of the students, I will just like to take a short description. It is a new normal is just a situation where the society finds itself following a major crisis or an event which transforms essential aspects of our life. It is really a new situation that one that has come into prior to the start of the crisis. So it can be any form of crisis.
Sir Raj, you are on mute.
Something is going on here. Hold on, please. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Is that okay now? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. It's okay now.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about the disruption. This is technological disruption as well, I think. Okay. So these are some of these issues which can reset the economy. And then we have, events like what is the new normal? For example, this has happened in many countries after the Asian financial crisis or after the World War, or where the partition of a country is concerned, or in the case of Philippines, there was a reset of the economy after the EDSA revolution, or the digital literacy, or what you call now the IR, Industrial Revolution 4.0, is resetting the economy. And of course, now we are talking about the post-COVID situation. It is a new situation being created due to certain developments requiring compliance to the new normal. So as far as the education is concerned, the new normal has been happening for some time already. So it is not something which is totally new. And what are these? Distance learning, for example. You have got home-based learning. You have got hybrid blended learning. These are all new normals which are gradually happening in the case of education. And self-paced learning, massive online courses for lifelong learning. And you have also online learning programs. And this is the current situation, which has already started even before the COVID. What COVID has done is accelerated some of these developments. Basically, the drivers of new normal in education, insofar as I'm concerned, one is the technology. This technology was existing well before the COVID, and you can see that there was a lot of developments taking place in the form of digital learning, like learning management systems, through internet and those sort of issues. This was happening well before the COVID. The economic transformation that is taking place in the world throughout is also driving education to a new level, because there's a need for new skill sets. If you just go back and look at those students who are now working in our industry in the last, say, 5 years or so, some of these jobs didn't exist actually, and they didn't study the university, especially in the IT area. So similarly, new skills are continuously being challenged, and it will be in great demand. And this is where the educators have to look at it, how to cope with this demand for new skills. Then you have this non-technology disruption, as what is happening now during this COVID situation. This disruption has been probably more massive than the technology disruption. And the new normal requires new skills, and the focus of these new skills in whatever aspects of education, whether it's logistics or any other hospitality or even businesses, is they make sure that is to ensure that crisis management plays important part in the curricula, and the demand for flexibility and adaptability, coping with remote proficiency, virtual networking will be very important, and lifelong learning, aside from importance of critical thinking. It is not new just to logistics. It has happened in the hospitality, restaurant, for example. In the last 1.5 years or 2 years, you have seen massive changes in the roles played by various workers in the hospitality industry, the restaurant, the airlines, the tourism, the medical sector, in the food chain, and of course, logistics, which is the area of interest which I would like to elaborate on. Okay? The new normals in logistics and supply chain are basically the importance of risk management. And this risk management will be very, very important increasingly. Risk management is very important so that the various aspects of the curricula will probably need to be reviewed. Inventory management is another new normal which is changing very much the face of logistics. For example, there's a lot of emphasis, which Dr. Charles also mentioned earlier, the lean logistics or the just-in-time logistics and all that. But this COVID situation has made people realize that inventory management or zero management, inventory management will not work. And many companies were in trouble because of low inventory management. So now you have this new thing called just-in-case inventory management. And you find that there is also a need to look at supplier diversification. Most of the pre-COVID situation was most of the outsourced manufacturing was focused on one supplier or two suppliers. But now this COVID has taught there is a need to diversify the suppliers. For example, most of them depended on China, and that was probably realized is probably a mistake now. You got to realize you got to develop more suppliers from other countries, including like Vietnam, Malaysia, or other countries which can offer such alternatives. And you find that in the new normal, you need to look at emergency response communication, how workers in the industry need to communicate on emergency basis, because things are happening very fast and differently, and you need to have this embedded in curriculums. And of course, you also have this first mile and last mile delivery. The focus should be also on that. And of course, digitalization is what spoken by Mr. Samuel just now. It's becoming a major thing. And to what extent this should form a part of a curricula in logistics, it need to be also examined. This COVID has also taught a lot of educators that you can't teach logistics just on logistics alone. You have to teach manufacturing, because the logistics was more or less dealing on the demand side. It was not dealing on the supply side. But the COVID has taught a lesson that in a situation where there's a total shutdown, the logistics needs to understand also the manufacturing aspects of the products that flows. So many universities in the US or the Europe, they are now including manufacturing as part of the logistics program as well. Manufacturing production control, which is an important part of this kind of curriculum. So there are many tools to address these curricular gaps. One of it is like the webinar and seminar what we're having right now. We'll expose students to learn some of these things. And you have also curricular enhancement programs, which can be taught side by side to students. Or you can have this virtual practicum, or even like the virtual tours, which Haji Abi was mentioning, which will be very useful, because the concept of practicum will also need to be changed here. The many will be project-based, and those sort of things will be required under the curricular review. And then you got industry academic linkages will be very important to address these gaps so that the teachers understand what's going on with industry and what industry needs actually. And immersion tours or field trips, some of these like immersion tours and all that can be done also on a virtual basis. And you have also to invite guest lecturers from the industry to supplement some of the curricula which are being taught at schools. So these are all, some of these may be called stopgap measures or whatever it is, so that what the students learn in logistics in school will not become obsolete when they graduate, because they take about 3 years to 4 years to graduate, by which time many of the things which is taught in the school will become obsolete. So to keep it in contemporary, you need to have such tools or such platforms to keep it contemporary and current. So what are curricular enhancement programs? Basically, this is where I would like to share with you all what are the programs that we have, so that you can understand that basically we are not replacing curricula, but we are just supplementing or enhancing the curricula which are being taught in schools, and to make them more employable. Employability is a greater objective of all our programs. Okay, it is not just to train people, but to make sure they are employable when they graduate, and continuous lifelong learning. So we have programs like certificate in supply chain and risk management. We have certificate in warehousing and e-fulfillment centers. These are all new things that are developing. And certificate in manufacturing and production control, as I just mentioned, there's a need to understand on this aspect, manufacturing and production control in relation to logistics. And certificate in e-commerce and digital supply chain management, as well as certificate in international trade and transactions. There's a need to understand the documentary flow. And of course, inventory management and safety stock management is another important area which students in logistics. These are all certificates which can be done very fast within a couple of weeks, a couple of months, to develop an initial interest, initial knowledge, so that when they graduate or when they start looking for a job, they have a supplemental certificate which will be opening up the employment opportunities. And of course, this is what I want to touch on, basically the professional certificate in logistics and supply chain management. Basically, this program is not something new. We have delivered this program for a couple of years already in Malaysia as well as in the Philippines. So this program basically will take you about a month or so, but you can also do it fast because this is an online program. And the good news about this, or the most important part of it, is that this program offers an acceptable practicum option for graduating students in the Philippines. So this is an important aspect why universities or students can look into this program as a form of moving into the logistics sector. These are some details of this program. Basically, it provides an insight into the logistics industry. It's important that before you go and work in the logistics industry, you have to understand what is logistics industry and its relation to the trade and economy. So we teach that. We will make sure that you understand this issue so that you develop greater interest in this area. Okay, and then of course, not many courses which are available outside really goes into the theoretical concepts which are involved in. It's not that it's important, but it's important to understand the theory sometimes behind this, the concepts, the principles on the logistics and all that. And these are all very contemporary issues which we try to highlight. The objective of this program basically is to bring in students to understand the aspects of logistics in relation to the development planning also, so that you will understand what is the important issues in trade efficiency and so forth. The program basically comprises the lectures, which are all uploaded on the learning management system. So these materials are uploaded in advance so that the students can access this and look at read up these materials at their own time. It's a self-paced program. These 3 modules are self-paced. That means you can finish it up in 1 day or 1 week. And then you move on to the audio files, which will help strengthen the learning outcomes. Okay, so it explains in a visual way and it is an interactive way to understand these things. There are discussion boards, so you can interact with the course facilitators. So it will be useful to pose some questions or whatever it is. And then you have online quizzes and classroom activities to help learners understand these things. And then for during the duration of this program, we will have 3 interactive webinar sessions, okay, into contemporary issues: introduction to logistics and supply chain, trade, transaction and process flows, e-commerce logistics, and digital supply chain. Now, these are all interactive things, so you can actually go and, after listening to this, you can actually go and see how it actually, the processes actually work. This is the tentative sort of study plan. You can see that on a quick look, you can see that it can be finished within 3 weeks, and on the 4th week, you can have a final exam. Okay, but these can be adjusted according to the requirements of the various schools. So we can adjust according to the time. So it can be on a continuous basis or can be on a staggered basis. And there are the 3 components to this. Basically, one is the lecture notes itself, and then the learning activity, and then the instructor-led webinars, which will bring in contemporary issues. On a very non-empirical way, the notional study hours will total up something like 42 hours. So that you can see that each reading module, we allocate 3 hours. So there are 3 modules there, there will be 9 hours. So you can see how the timing works. Independent, we expect, of course, the students to look at the various other reading materials. We will guide them. There is also a Portsworld knowledge base where you'll be guided to look into some of these resource materials, white papers, and things like that. And coursework will include online learning activity and quizzes. These are compulsory. You have to participate in the quizzes. And the virtual class attendance, which is webinar. And you allocate some revision time, and there'll be a multiple choice questions, which will be for 1 hour. So you can see that it is a very well structured program. And with this completion of this thing, you should be able to understand what is logistics, where is it for, and develop an interest in a career. The idea is to develop an interest in a career, but you will not know all about logistics. You will know enough to gain an entry into the logistics and hopefully make a successful career out of this, because there are tremendous opportunities coming up in this area. Okay, you'll be sitting for a time-locked assessment, and the overall grading will include the self-paced learning modules, which means to say you must read up the materials and you will be tracked for that, complete the learning activities, and attendance for webinar. So some marks or points will be given for that, and then for the assessment. So all you need to do is make sure you attend all these things carefully, and you should be able to achieve 60% passing marks to be awarded the professional certificate in logistics. Okay, and the certificate will be awarded on a blockchain platform. This is to safeguard the authenticity and to facilitate for your future lifelong learning, so that you can keep on accumulating more certificates on this wallet. Okay, now basically this is this video, the process flow regarding this. I think we can sort of skip it because this is all too much of a detail. But let me just emphasize with you that it is not just a webinar-based program, but we also use a learning management system, so that you'll be having access to the system. You will be able to sign in anytime convenient to you. Okay, and there is I'll skip that. And this is a certificate which we award, and normally we can award it in collaboration with the universities concerned. Okay, so basically this is the processes involved. First, you enroll. There's a batch enrollment. We will not entertain individual enrollment at this stage. You go through the school. You'll be given a password and access to the LMS, and then you access the 3 modules. And then you can also participate in the quiz interactive activities and all that. And then you attend the seminar, the webinar, where you will be discussing or you'll be hearing from our industry experts the issues in the industry. So some of these contemporary issues might change because 3 months or 6 months from now, we are not sure what are the new issues that may develop in the logistics industry. Okay, and then of course you have the assessment. Okay, so that hopefully that gives you some idea about possible career these things. Our credentials so far, we have delivered these programs and also individual programs to various institutions or organizations. Some of it I'll mention is that we developed the curricula for the Open University Malaysia for working adults and students. This was at various levels, at diploma level and degree level as well. And we also delivered programs for the Malaysian Digital Economy Corporation. This is the government body which is responsible for developing the digital economy in Malaysia. So we have delivered some programs with regards to digital logistics and digital supply chain management. And we have also, held some programs for the Hindustan University from India. And we also have delivered programs for the HRDF in Malaysia. There is an institution called HRDF. It's a Human Resource Development Fund under the Ministry of Human Resource or Manpower, where all the employees, all the companies which have got more than 50 workers must contribute to this fund for training purposes. And this fund is used to train people in various sectors, including in hospitality, in IT, and also in logistics. So we have delivered some programs under this for some number of companies. And we have worked with this program with Our Lady Fatima on the previous year. And we have had a very good response. And we are quite happy that they have shown further interest. We also have delivered this program for a university in Malaysia called Meritus University. Meritus University is the only university in Malaysia which is a maritime university. It conducts all degree level and postgraduate level programs on maritime, transport, and logistics. It's a very dedicated and a very specialized university. Okay, these are. And as far as I was told to look at the challenges and all these things, during the current times, when you're looking at all these challenges under this new normal, I've just categorized it into 4 different categories. The schools, I think it is not easy to review curricula very fast because it takes a lot of time, a lot of approval, a lot of processes involved and all these things there. So this will be a major challenge with regards to the new normal, how this curricula needs to be aligned with the new logistics requirements of the industry. And there's a need for industry engagement and teaching skills, because in academics, they don't, they're not part of the industry. So there may be a problem how to cope with these particular requirements and all these things. So there may be a shortage of teaching skills with regards to the new curricula. So there's no need to change the entire curricula, but you just have to embed some of these programs based on enhancement programs. The students themselves must make sure they are relevant. Okay, so it's important that if you're seeking to work in a particular industry, you can't just graduate and just apply for a job. You have something additional, which is like a skill program or something like that. It will help you in employability. Okay, and do this while in your final year, final term, or something like that, so that industry is not faced with square pegs in round holes. Okay. And there are a lot of opportunities opening up. Realize that because I did notice from the Charles frame just now, for example, there are more than 7 million jobs in the logistics industry we created. And I am listening to the previous presenters and all this, especially from the Philippines. There are a lot of opportunities going to open up in the logistics sector. Your logistics sector in Philippines is fairly small when you compare it with many other sectors. It's only US 11 billion. Okay, there is only 5% of the GDP of Philippines, but it has to double or triple in a matter of years. So you can see the shortage of skills will be tremendous, and that means you need for upskilling, like what Tuan Haji Abi was mentioning, importance of upskilling. Once you're in the industry, you find that the logistics industry is interconnected to so many sectors, so you have to keep on upskilling. Okay. This is also, the parents might feel that, you apart from graduate, you have to spend some money, to do further skilling. But some of these skilling programs are not really expensive, but they are worthwhile. And it is important that parents realize in today's environment, your children cannot just stay put with one degree and say that you have done it. You must have a lifelong learning ambition or requirement. Otherwise, you will become obsolete. Okay. This job perception, it is what Mr. Samuel was mentioning just now. Most parents don't look logistics as a kind of a glamour industry. It is like a very dirty industry. They say a lot of grime and grease kind of industry. The first thing they think is about driving or is warehousing and things like that. But I think this thing has changed now. It's changing, okay? Because a lot of people have made successful entry into the logistics, whether they are from different backgrounds or whatever it is, and opportunities are opening up, especially with the digitalization. You find that this interest in this job is increasing. And of course, when it comes to compliance, there's importance of this qualification framework, which like CHAD, for example, we'll have to look into how these various curriculums probably need to be changed, and whether they have the right expertise and technology, and the issue of accreditation and those sort of things. Okay, so with that, I think I am done. So this is key takeaways: the new normal, education, the new normal, curricular deficit or gaps, and how do you plug the gaps, and the challenges. Okay, thank you very much, and over to you, Ajay.
Thank you very much, Sir Durairaj Govindasamy, or Sir Raj,
Yeah.
as I call you, or your short name. Thank you very much for enlightening us on curricular enhancement and career pathways in logistics. I've seen that this is another avenue for our future practitioners and entrepreneurs in logistics and supply chain management on how will they be equipped on different topics, most especially those that are being updated as we speak. So one question would be, as we know, we are all in the remote learning setup, and most of the students are actually asking this question, not only for the business administration programs or those in the logistics and supply chain management programs or in customs administration, but I think for some who requires an internship as part of the completion of their curricula. So our question would be, would this enhancement from your side be if not a substitute, a complement, something that would complement their practicum training program?
Yes, I think I've been given to understand that it offers a practicum option pathway, so it has been accepted. As I mentioned, one particular university, which is Our Lady of Fatima, has actually completed this program last year for its students, and I think that will be a useful starting point. As far as we are just supplementing whatever has been taught, and to hopefully to make it more employable.
So having to be into this setup wouldn't be a hindrance for all of us to still acquire the skills that we normally acquire on face-to-face or physical practicum or physical internship, because of the provisions of updated knowledge through Portsworld Academy. Would that be correct, sir?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
the important thing here is that we try to give some hands-on understanding also. The process flows, for example, there are not many understand the process flows involved in international transaction or filling up a documents, for example. There are scores of documents that need to be filled up in import-exports. So this needs to be done on a workshop basis if it's face-to-face. But since now we can't do this face-to-face, it can be done on a virtual way where we have developed these interactive platforms.
All right. Thank you very much, Sir Durairaj Govindasamy, for giving us tips and enlightening us on the 5th plenary session. May we call in the Operations Manager for Global Professional Advancement, Ms. Susan Velasco, to award the Certificate of Appreciation to our last panel, a plenary speaker.
Okay, good evening, Sir Raj. So this certificate of appreciation is hereby presented to Durairaj Govindasamy in grateful acknowledgement of his unselfish sharing of time and expertise rendered during the 3rd International Conference on Logistics and Supply Chain Management with the theme Career Advancement Pathways in Supply Chain Industry under the New Normal, Prospects and Challenges via Virtual Conference. Given this 20th day of November at Quezon City, Metro Manila, Philippines, signed by yours truly, the Operations Manager of Global Professional Advancement, and the President of Academy of Developmental Logistics, Mr. Samuel C. Bautista. Congratulations, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. Thank you, Samuel.